Panic of 1837 was a crisis of land and easy money. The Panic of 1873 was a crisis of infrastructure and overinvestment, a distinction that, upon inspection, dissolves into the same underlying pathology. The decades following the Civil War were a period of extraordinary American economic ambition. The Transcontinental Railroad, completed in 1869, had opened the continent to commerce and fired the imagination of investors and speculators alike. Railroad construction became the defining investment of the era, absorbing vast quantities of capital from domestic and European investors who believed, with some justification, that the railroads represented the future of the American economy. The problem was that railroad construction had far outpaced the economic activity required to service the debt that financed it. Investment banks, most prominently Cooke Company, had underwritten massive bond issuances for railroads, whose revenue projections were built on optimistic assumptions about traffic volumes and freight revenues that reality would not support. The federal government had subsidized railroad construction with land grants and bond guarantees, creating moral hazard, the implicit assurance that public money would backstop private risk-taking. When Cooke Company, then the most powerful investment bank in the United States, failed to sell the bonds of the Northern Pacific Railroad and was forced to close its doors in September 1873, the effect was immediate and catastrophic. The New York Stock Exchange closed for 10 days, an unprecedented measure. Banks across the country failed. Railroad companies defaulted on their bonds in waves. The depression that followed, known at the time as the Great Depression, before that term was reassigned to the cataclysm of the 1930s, lasted roughly 6 years in the United States and was even longer and deeper in Europe, where it was known simply as the Long Depression. Unemployment soared, wages fell, and labor unrest, including the Great Railroad Strike of 1877, the largest labor uprising in American history to that point, reflected the social weight of sustained economic contraction. The Panic of 1873 added new dimensions to the American crisis template. It demonstrated the particular danger of leveraged overinvestment in a single transformative technology, a danger that would resurface in the railroad-era crises of the 1890s, in the dot-com bubble of the 1990s, and in the housing-backed securities complex of the 2000s. It also highlighted the role of investment banks as both architects and amplifiers of systemic risk, institutions that, in their pursuit of underwriting fees, could load the financial system with liabilities whose underlying risks were poorly understood or deliberately obscured.